Okay, great. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Self Defense Company podcast. We're with Mark Hale. Mark, thanks for joining us today. Really happy to have you here.
Oh, my pleasure.
Um,
It may
so,
not be yours by the end of this, but we'll see,
Fair
right?
enough, man. Fair enough. So, dude, so you're talking about what happened to your neck? You said you had neck brace on, and
Okay, so in my lower back, I have a degenerative thing with my spine, right?
right.
My neck, I got messed up from all my years being young and dumb
Oh yeah,
and doing King of the Cage,
yeah,
doing what I call the how do I say this politely? The the park expeditions where we would just all meet up on a Sunday
yes,
morning
yes.
in the park and just go at it. So all this stuff has just begun to take its toll. So I'm going to have a little thing done to kind of get that straightened out. And I have this huge lump on my back from all the muscles kind of bunching up.
Oh yeah.
And my wife is finishing up her DNP, doctorate of nurse practitioner.
Okay.
And so I have my own little nurse in the home, and so she's on me.
Right.
So if I don't take care of things, I get yelled at a lot. And
Sure.
regardless of what I know, she's still the boss.
So, what are you doing to treat that?
Well, right now, some massage, ice, heat. I'm going to go in and maybe have a little scope work done. We'll
Okay.
see what the pictures show.
Yeah.
But there's in the neck area itself, there's a lot of arthritis kind of damage, and nothing that should hamper me.
Right.
When I show up for things, but it's
Sure.
enough to get in the way, the little clicks, the little neck locks.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, as we age, because I'm 51, it's not like, it's like I don't want to really talk to anybody about training who's like not 80 years old.
Right?
So I'm like, I got like a 22-year-old kid coming up to me. I'm like, bro, you know shit about what I'm going through. So,
right. Or they do this. Oh, bro, do you lift? I'm so sore. Oh, my pecs, bro.
Right.
I get guys in my class. Oh, bro, yeah, my pecs. Oh, I did these righteous sets, man.
Right.
I'm like, excuse me, my left shoulder, the whole rotator was torn. They
Right.
had to pull the bicep back up.
Right.
It takes me 10 minutes to warm up when I wake up in the morning, and you're complaining about
Right.
your pecs, bro.
I think the biggest barometer for me is that I've got a 14-year-old son now, and he's athletic and starting to feel his oats. His puberty is kicking in.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things I'm awful at is basketball, and he's pretty good. So, it's funny because he beats me, and I'm really trying my hardest. I'm like, there's no doubt. I'm like, this is as good as it's going to get. But yeah, it takes me, at least about 15, 20 minutes till I'm like, things are lubricated and moving.
Oh, yeah.
And I can feel like I'm not like, cast in cement. One of the things two things I'm starting to explore with this, and I'll let you know. One is like CBD oil.
Okay, yeah, I've got some of that.
Okay, have you tried it yet?
I just started trying it.
Okay, all right. So you tell me.
We'll see how it is.
Right.
We'll see how it is. All right.
Right.
There's this other hemp oil kind of stuff my wife got, and this stuff is lethal. It's like taking OC and putting it directly on your skin.
Right. Oh God, yeah.
I mean, it just you get she went in with her little rubber glove and put like a quarter pound of stuff in her palm and rubbed it and massaged it.
Oh.
And I'm like, whoa. 5 minutes later, I'm running to the shower, man. I'm hopping in. I'm like, never
And that's
again.
not helping.
Now I'm like, no, just this little dab. It even says on the directions you have a caution about using too much of this. Oh my God. My skin was all red. And do you know what it takes for a black German Norwegian Cherokee skin to get red?
Right.
All right.
Do you remember back in the day? Do you remember DMSO?
Yes.
They still have it, and it's basically was like a muscle massage oil for horses. So you would put it on any part of your body, and within a couple of minutes, you would taste it in your mouth. So I'm like, there's some, I don't know what the ramifications of that are, but that is, it wasn't good. At least we knew it was penetrating.
Well, if you get a craving for apples, we'll have to.
Right, right. Well,
Damian just had his teeth worked on today.
Right. Well, again, it didn't have any other positive effects. Let me tell you that.
Right. Or I make a call. Hey, Damian, I got a question about this strike. Well,
right.
Wilbur. We're probably everyone's listening's probably like, yeah, what are these old farts talking about?
Screw them. See, but the beauty of this is like we just do this for us.
Right.
So Mark, man, I'm looking, and one of the things I want to jump at is it jumps out. I mean, your resume, you've got multiple black belts, sambo. There's a couple things I want to talk about, but the one that jumps out the most is the Medal of Honor for the Police Officer Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Okay. What were the details around that?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Okay, great.
So
right. No, I get it, dude. I get it. I totally get it.
I have no idea. So my jiu-jitsu instructor is Brian C. Smith, who in the Chicago area here, he's a retired police chief, national SWAT trainer, multiple national NRA Instructor of the Year awards. As a matter of fact, I think they quit giving that out because of him.
Wow.
That's the joke, because he kept getting it every year. So I would do these things with him. Go to the FBI Academy, martial arts. I always say martial arts open the door for everything.
Right.
Okay.
100%.
And I was doing some community service stuff where we were teaching the kids. I was speaking with, and I think this is why I got it. I was speaking with some of the at-risk youth, as they say now. In our day we call them gang members.
Right.
About, hey, join the class, get off the street. And it was so effective that some of the local judges, when they would get these guys ahead, in front of them, they would send them to our class.
Wow.
They would say, okay, so here's your community service, and you have to go to this class with these guys. And it turned out well. We've got a few guys I won't name because I haven't, spoken
right. Right. Can you hear audio, George?
No. Mark, we lost your audio, bud.
There you go. He's backing out. So, Mark, we're losing your audio.
I was like, hey,
hold on. I'm going to pause
it. He was always taking me everywhere. So when he'd say, hey, we're going to dinner here or there, I would just show up.
Right?
Because usually I expected it to be like an Illinois Martial Arts Hall of Fame dinner or something like that, a policeman's dinner,
right?
A raffle ball, whatever. Next thing I know, I'm getting this award.
Oh, wow. So again, we dropped your audio a little bit coming out of that story. So just go. So essentially, you were training and you're helping these at-risk youth, and then your instructor's like, hey, let's go. We got this dinner to go to.
Right.
And they inducted you into the Hall of Fame. So
that was it.
Wow, very cool. I just, but sometimes though, it's, again, you see these things and, I'm sure you get numerous invitations into some martial arts Hall of Fame.
Yes.
That usually costs the cost of the plaque and the dinner.
Right,
and I'm like, it's a Hall of Fame where, but when I see, when I see police attached to it and things like that, I go, that's very cool. It's not
but my understanding is like that's like one of the highest awards you could get.
Wow. So
as a civilian.
So now when these kids are coming in, the class is like, is it military style class? I mean, are you?
It's a traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu regiment, which I'm sure you're with. Everyone's sensei or shihan. If you don't address things right, the whole class drops.
Right.
We do our push-ups. You get your gi, you bow in, and I think that regiment actually helps the mindset.
Yes. Sure.
And that's what I enjoy. I'm a little bit of a history buff, so I enjoy that the historic significance of that.
Right.
Regardless of what, oh no, this is a gooseneck. That's not a neat-on. This is, whatever.
Right.
But I enjoy the traditional discipline of it and just the mindset. And I think that's what kind of keeps me going with things.
I mean, I have to, I'm a huge fan of Japanese martial arts. I don't know if you look, my resume between judo and jiu-jitsu and things like that.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, I see the kendo and the aido, and I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, we don't I would do that, except that the closest legit guy is in Manhattan, and I ain't going in there. I'm not. I'm like, it's not happening. So my days of driving 2 hours each way to go train are pretty much done. So but it's either way. So now you still training in that?
I do. I actually teach at a park district here also. And let's see, the nights here are Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday mornings.
Okay.
And I always find the little kids class is the most fascinating.
Okay.
Because you can pick out who's who.
Right. Totally.
Just by the behavior of the child.
Right.
I actually had a parent, and I kid you not, true story. Really? Do they have to sweat this much? And I just looked at her because I thought, she had a dry sense of humor and she was just giving it to me with a straight face.
Oh no!
And totally serious.
No,
totally serious.
It's just funny. My wife's at a Board of Ed meeting last night. We have some friends locally on the Board of Ed, so it's been a somewhat of a shit show with managing the budget, and they're letting aides go and things like that. And then one of the parents actually stood up and said, well, I don't know why my son has to take these classes. He was taking this class and he didn't like it. And it was very upsetting to him. And my wife was like, no shit. There's part of say, what?
Right.
And it's, there's a mentality that I think people, are with, especially, with our kids, they tend to like helicopter. I mean, it is like they're overmanaging and they don't want to make the wrong decision. And, my thing so far with my kids, I mean, my kids are 16 and 14. And to be honest, they were who they were when they were like 6 years old.
Right.
I'm like, I try not to, I say, if I brag a bit, my daughter's like member of National Honor Society. She, her passion is the theater. So, she went from playing the rock in the school play when she was little to getting the lead at a pretty competitive, high school plays, which is, what she wants to do in her career. And my son is another one who is, a smaller kid growing up. Now he's getting bigger, but he's the kid that's out there. He loves football and basketball. He's the kid that was out there shooting hoops when it's in the middle of winter. So, it's not like I stood there and threw a bunch of money at these knuckleheads and we're like, go. My daughter gets like lessons at the Y. My son plays on the Y team along with his travel team. I'm like, look, if you can't there's competition all over the place. And there's opportunity all over the place. And with parents, to circle back to my point, there's kind of like, you got to let them go and do their own thing, and they're going to be their own person. So, and you got to kind of let we like to call the law of the jungle. It's funny because my wife's like, why is he combing his hair like that? I'm like, someone's going to, if his world tells him that his hair should not look like that, he will fucking fix it.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, there's nothing that we need to do. I'm like, if you worry about him showering, don't worry about it. I told him once. I'm like, he doesn't shower. I go, he's going to be the stinky kid.
What's funny is my boy's 18. He's going to be hitting basic at the end of graduation.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Where's he going? Which branch?
Army.
Okay.
So he's going down to Missouri.
Okay, great.
And what's funny is he spends, I kid you not, about a half hour, 40 minutes in the shower.
Of course he does.
And I said, back in my day, if you spent that long in the shower, you were doing something else.
Right. I know very well. Hey, man.
And he's always combing his hair.
Of course.
And I'm like,
Right.
In college, she doesn't
Well,
comb her hair as much as you
she's
do.
in a different. She's rolling out of bed now and getting to class.
Right.
She's in a whole other thing.
So
Yeah, man.
that's hilarious.
Right, but it's it's funny. I'm like that's why. Speaking of having a teenage boy, that's why every door that is closed gets knocked a lot.
Right.
Like no.
Or you stomp loudly.
Loudly,
down
I'm learning.
All right.
Right.
Here I
Exactly.
come.
And yeah. I don't want to have that situation as much as you
Right.
don't.
Yeah.
But I said they, so I get it. Like growing up, I'm like we grew up, and again, I sound like the old timers growing up, but I was like, I remember looking at my kid. He was like 4 years old, and I'm like, I'm not 4 years old. He's in fourth grade, and I'm like, dude, I go, no joke. I'm like, I think you need to get punched in the face, and I go, and you need to get angry enough to punch somebody in the face. And I guess, when we grew up, there was definitely a healthy respect for violence and
Right.
use of force. I'm like, you got, someone, fucked with Mark. I mean, you're growing up and somebody messed with you, and it's like, all right, dude, if I'm gonna either take this or I'm gonna do something about it. It was stressful. You call, you didn't go and you win it. You missed a day of school, but eventually, you figured out I got to deal with this. And when I talked to my grandfather, was a boxing coach, and my dad, again, former Marine. So I was, he said, if I want to look for sympathy, it's in the dictionary between shit and syphilis. So it was like, hey, okay. And, yeah, man, and it was, hitting a heavy bag, this is like our first thing. And then when I was little, I started wrestling in second grade, and then, schoolyard scraps just weren't fair for other kids. Nobody, I was like the only kid in my entire grammar school that wrestled. No, me and my buddy Paul. So he lived down the street. He's a year older than me. And yeah, it was just, double leg takedown, boom, done.
So my daughter, I dragged my daughter into jiu-jitsu.
Right.
At the age of 6.
Yeah.
So at 8 years old, I get this call from a principal. Apparently, little Timmy, we'll just name little Timmy.
Sure.
I remember the kid's name in my head to this day.
Of course you do.
Just so funny. So little Timmy apparently, so my daughter has super straight, naturally wavy hair, and I guess he liked it and couldn't keep his hands from it.
Oh.
And so she turned around, threw a palm strike at his forehead.
Oops.
Because I always told her, don't hit him in the nose now.
Right.
Forehead, hard area.
Right.
No, I don't want any breakages. I want you to hurt him, and we'll move on.
Right.
And not only did she do that, but she turned around and choked him.
Whoops. Whoops.
So I get this call, about little Timmy's eyes rolling in the back of his head.
Yes.
She's holding on because she won't let go. She's got that Hidaka Jame on.
Right.
She just will not let go. Right.
And she's like, he's not tapping.
Right. The teachers are like yanking her arms apart and dragging her off of him. So yeah, that was the most humorous, proudest, controversial moment that I've had.
It's funny. My daughter hit a kid who was trying to put all the kids are hanging out. She's roughly the same age, and she started judo with me when she was little. And this kid was pulling a stick or bark on the tree, and he was kind of messing with her, and I'm kind of hanging back, and then she hit him with Osotogari, man. And she's like, bang! And I'm like, my first shock is like, I didn't think she was really paying attention. She knew that. I'm like, holy shit, she'd learned that. I was like, all right. And then
when you're showing them, they just stare at you. They're just like,
yeah, right. And they're like, okay, grab it. And they put their foot out, and they, they're kind of kicking. I'm like, all right, fine, but fucking figured it out. Yeah. So, it was funny. The other teachers was there. and he was like an 8 or something. He's like, yeah, no, he had it coming.
Yeah,
And then they kind of just, they like when kids fight, they're just like puppies fighting, right? They're not,
right.
it's not like they're generating enough power to, hurt each other. They're, they don't have the any of the hormones or the density and this power. So, I think as I'm watching this, as they're growing up and kind of not letting them resolve conflicts, where it's like they're, our kids are taught, violence is, never an option, right? And you should never fight, but that's not true. There are some people who, there are only some situations that could be handled, with use of force in a measured, correct, in a correct way. And, when we were growing up, man, yeah, you got in trouble. Okay, Mark. Okay, Damian, go down to the principal's office and tell him what happened. So
and
you
the
get
next month we're best friends.
We're best friends. Totally. Totally.
Right.
So my, I remember, like, you'd sit outside. One kid would go in, give his story, and the other kid would go in, give his story, and the one, I guess, that sounded the least likely full of shit. And it's like, they know who all the kids are. You know everybody. It was the one that, like, okay, I'm calling your parents. You get back to school. You get back to class. Now it's like zero tolerance. Everybody goes. Everybody's wrong. Everybody gets suspended, which, one, isn't how the real world works, and two, doesn't resolve anything.
Right, and not only that, then I'll get kids in class, and they'll stare at me when I say something like drop 10 push-ups.
Right.
Oh no, I'm serious, drop. And all the other students will stand around and go, no, we're waiting on you. I'm like, hurry up, you're holding up class.
Right.
We're not doing anything.
Right.
But I think that lack of constructive violence.
Right.
That the inhibitedness of that. Is that what word, inhibitedness? Anyway.
Right. It is now.
That causes them to, all that gets internalized, because what happens? Well, so for years, George has been, George and I got in an altercation. He pushed me down 6 months ago. It's 2 years later. I've got that built up. I've got a build up from Damian taking my lunch money. I've got a build up from this guy doing this. And next thing you know, I'm snapping in the workplace.
Right.
Because there's no outlet.
There's no outlet, and without, this is why, contact sports are so important. Again, I grew up wrestling and football and baseball, and but like, understanding like a will sport and using physicality as a kid, and now that gives, and the beauty about martial arts with kids is that it also allows that outlet for kids who aren't, those mainstream sport athletes to experience that. And, people ask me, they're like, look, it's funny. Like, I want a martial art for my kid. I'm like, sign him up for the wrestling team. I'm like, he's going to get real goddamn good if he doesn't freaking hate it. Right. So, but if it's not his thing and he feels like he's getting his, as we say, if he feels like he's getting his dick kicked in, go to bring him over to, your martial arts studio where it's more controlled. They can, there's a lot, typically there's a lot less number of kids, and there's other kids that are going to be there that are having similar, issues that are not, bigger, faster, stronger type of kids.
Absolutely.
So, when they, to do that, I think that's where that completely fits in today's world, is that these kids that don't have those other, outlets that, some of these other, that the other kids have, that they can go experience that. Because I just listened to a podcast with Russell Brand. He's on Joe Rogan's podcast. If you listen to him, Rogan's freaking great, dude. I listened to him, and it's funny because I resisted it a long time because I had a lot, I have a lot in common with him. So, we're from the same area, same back, so I'm like, all right, look at this meathead, but his things are great. So Russell Brand was on, and he's talking about how he grew up, and he didn't really, his father wasn't around. He didn't have a lack of male influence on his life, and now he's getting into So as a result, he wasn't into like contact sports, team sports. He was in grouping, so it wasn't like he was playing rugby or doing judo or wrestling or anything. So now he's getting into Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And he's like all amped up about stuff we know about, and it's nice to hear. I mean, he's like, but it's like these are like going through embracing the suck with your fellow man, and going through this shit, and you're like, yeah, man. I'm like, there's guys that, whatever level of football or wherever I was training, that you got a special bond, and where that you're going against something, you're like, we know this is gonna suck. There's a couple things. There's like, things you look forward to doing and enjoying while they're happening, and then there's things you do that totally suck, but like a while after you miss.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
So,
well, and that's one of the reasons I like doing the park district classes.
Right.
Because they're 90% of those kids, it's less affluent. I don't care where you are. A park district is your answer for, we'll say, the less affluent family.
So now, what's a park district? Because I'm from Jersey, and
so like the Chicago Park District, they offer public programs. So like think YMCA.
Right. All right. Good.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's the park district.
Okay. So it's government subsidized programs. Okay.
Right. So it's all local and affordable, and a lot of these kids are kids that would never have this opportunity.
Right.
I mean, we've got a BJJ studio down the street from us, and they can't afford $150, $200 a month.
No, of course not.
To do that. So it's nice to see that. And every now and then I'll get someone from there who comes over. And of course they'll say, well, your stuff, your finger locks, all your joints it's a lot smaller. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Oh, you broke up again.
I'm like,
check your audio. We're good. Go. Okay, so so we were saying the BJJ.
So like I'll get folks from our BJJ group down the street, and we'll talk about differences in the Japanese and the BJJ with the smaller locks that we do, but the kids at my class, they'll receive a 5 introductory free classes from them.
Yeah, sure, right.
And I'll say, well, we can't afford that, but should we go over? I'd like to go over and try it. I'm like, by all means, go ahead.
Sure. Because
that, it can't hurt you, one, and two, this is your time to search out in your life things you enjoy.
Totally.
Because sooner or later, you're going to get to that point where you're going to be forced to do things you don't enjoy.
Right.
So,
and your opportunities, yeah, right. They shrink.
Right.
So. Yeah, like when you're doing that, and that's such a it's such a martial art school thing to do, is to go down and it's funny. I mean, I've had like 3 schools. I've been doing this for teaching since '92, and then. Yeah, nobody has ever, and somewhat to my disappointment, has ever like come in and challenged me. Many people have written that.
Right.
Yes, go. Go. Let her rip.
I have so many retorts, and this is why. Let me see if I can do this constructively, because sometimes that German Norwegian thing comes out in me, and I'm just.
Yeah, of course.
So when we moved to the suburbs, being a young black multi-biracial child, of course, I was accepted with open arms. And people loved me.
Right.
Not true. I got in fights there were days I got in fights going to school and coming home.
Right.
I kid you not. So at the time I was studying Ed Parker's Kenpo.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my showdown finally, and one of the guys from one of the other schools in a neighboring community.
Now, Mark, how old were you at this time?
I was a freshman in high school.
Okay. All right.
And one of the guys in the other communities kind of told one of the higher ranking senseis, "I can't believe you gave that raisin and the cornflakes his Shodan." No, seriously. His reply to him was, "Why don't you come over and step on the mat?" And he never did.
Of course not.
Right. So and going to your statement, I find those people who say that very rarely, if ever, show up.
Yeah. No, never. And you know what? Again, to my disappointment.
Right.
You know,
right.
I mean,
there are those that.
You know, I'm like, I just like, yeah. You know, I mean, that's the thing about, you know, again, you know, social media, commenting. I think the comments that you're seeing from people, it's like they just don't, you know, people just don't think.
Right.
And they say their first thing that comes out of their mind, and they just regurgitate it out, and you know, they don't realize that. Like, if I'm doing business with somebody, the first thing I do is like Google them. The next thing I do is look up their social media. And if I see you're making comments like, you'll get killed doing that, or I'll kill you, I'll just shoot them, you know, the litany of things that you're going to see, or, you know, then it's like, all right, well, you're clearly unhinged because you really, or at least a part of, you know, because you're not thinking. I mean, this is like primary basic stuff. You're putting stuff out in the world for everybody to see, and it's a bell you can't unring.
Correct, right.
So, yeah, to your point, I'm like, you know, we get guys, you know, this is a funny story. When I had the place in Pompton Lakes, I had my guy doing admin for me. He's a big, bald, white guy, but he looks intimidating, but he's not, right? So a guy, like, he was doing customer service back in the day when we would just sell the DVDs. And so he gets an email from a guy, and he's like, you know, threatening me and everybody and this whole bit, right? So he sends me this email, and he's very nervous. He's at the dojo by himself. He just opened up. So, of course, like, on my way in, of course, I call, and I pretend to be the guy. And I indicate that I'm coming down there. And so our hero, I'm pulling into the parking lot. I see him, like, he's not even locking the door. He's like flying across the street. So I'm like, dude, where are you going? And he's like, dude, I can't do this. And I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like, Joe Ragno, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, fuck you. And now he starts coming at me. I go, oh, now you're a tough guy. Now you want to kick somebody's ass.
What cracks me up is that, because I'll get email requests for the park district.
Right.
And so they have this little page. I'm like, yeah, you know, if you want, come on, check out a free class, just sit in, watch,
sure.
You know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And every now and then I get an email response. Well, I think that's full of crap. That's bullshit stuff you guys do. I'm like, you didn't even come to class. How are you doing? I'm just like, yeah, but you contacted me. Don't bother me anymore. But you contacted me. Hello?
Right.
Hello?
I said, it's like, you know, these guys need a puppy. You know, it's like I only give it the energy for entertainment value when I feel like going on it. Like, I'll copy George on shit, and I'm like, dude, here we go. Let's have some fun. And I'm like, I don't care about what your opinion is. I really don't. As soon as you know, you don't know me. You know, you can't, like, there's like negative energy and all that shit. It just doesn't exist, right? So I'm like, you know, but these guys, like, these people feel, you know, whatever. I can't even get into their headspace. But, you know, it's funny. I had this this one guy, and I actually felt bad for him. I took the post down. I did. He was I'll just say it because screw him. His name is Gary Heyer. He had this thing, the Temple of Bliss. Well, he was on one of the programs, and then he started. He's like, I had the whole thing documented. He was like, comes completely unhinged, called me like a cunt, and then goes through this whole thing. So then okay, so I'm like, dude, he's all on social media. He's like an Uber driver, and he had these really creepy videos of him with women out in the woods in a tent, and he was like, trying to do like Reiki or something, and it was really disturbing. So I completely fucking destroyed him in hate mail. And the poor guy, and I don't want to say the poor guy because the guy, emailed me, he's like, I'm sorry. So I was ignoring him, and then he wound up, he sent a letter through UPS. It wasn't like it's, I don't know, either way. So I get it. Of course, my wife's like, just, okay, take the post down. So I took it down, I let him know. So now he starts, now that wasn't enough. It was like, there's a couple images out there. Can you take? I'm like, and actually I had one of the customer service guys doing it, but he's like, it's like, look, no, we're not hiring somebody, we're not paying a web guy to go and scrub your shit, and if you keep this up, because then he starts talking about getting a lawyer again, which he's not going to do. I mean, for someone who's been involved in lawsuits, it's like, you want to do something, 10 grand to start getting anything remotely accomplished. Right. You want to sue somebody because you fell down. You want to sue somebody because you thought you got your feelings hurt. Great. We're going to prepare the case. It's going to be $10,000 retainer to get started.
Right.
And I can, and attorneys do good jobs even if they're your friends, of fucking making money. So, right. So
that's what I tell all my friends. How much is this going to cost me?
Right. Exactly.
Hey, I can help you with that oil change, if you want to come over to the shop. Yeah, how much is it going to cost?
Right. And I'm all for you making a buck. Just let me know now.
Yeah.
And if you don't, if you don't charge me, then I'm going to get really nervous. That shit's coming back.
I didn't charge you because, I was wondering if you could do me this favor.
Right, and that favor will last 5-10 times. That's
Right.
like we were talking about the other night. It's like when you go out with a group of guys, always be the guy that buys the first round of drinks.
Yep.
Always. Because then that's the only round you're going to have to buy. Because the rest of the night, no one's going to fucking remember it. And they're going to keep buying you those drinks for the rest of the night because they knew that you bought everybody them first.
Yep.
So, yeah, when you do that, yeah, you're buying, he's buying the first round of drinks.
I have a friend who I constantly embarrass in social media. I grew up with him.
Of course.
And we'll do things like we'll go shopping. So a ritual is after church or whatever we do, like Sundays, we all go out to lunch, everybody. And so sometimes we end up shopping. Hey, you guys want to go look at a car with me? This, that, whatever. So I'll be in the store and I'll pull out something I know he doesn't like. Like I'll go through the women's underwear section. Hey, do you want these? And when he looks at me, he'll try to do something slick, like pull, the gold watches are over here for you people, And I'll turn the tables. I'm going and I just yell this in the store. Black man can't look at a gold watch. So yeah, I and I'll throw things on social media at him, and all our other friends you're enjoying this, are you? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole point of everything. Right. If you're not my friend, it's like I think especially with my son, with my daughter, as like I having a teenage daughter is like living with a wolf. I try not to make eye contact, no sudden movements. I just kind of like her initiate contact.
Right.
And I know she loves me. That's what I got somewhere.
Yes, somewhere.
But it's like, I can't. Yeah. So my son, on the other hand, it's like being a guy you got to, especially again, like any metropolitan area, especially like the Northeast, I think, um, you gotta like you break balls,
Oh, absolutely.
and there is nothing sacred. So I told him at a young age, dude, I go, if you lost your hand, I'm like, I would be like, dude, why aren't you clapping?
Right.
So
give him a hook. Here's a hook for your birthday. Here's
right.
a different hand for church. Here's a hand for birthday parties.
Right.
When George got his hand worked out, I was waiting to see if they just kind of
Yeah,
watched him like this.
exactly.
For, you know?
I was hoping.
Send me a picture to one of my emails.
Yeah, totally. And I think the one word that I wish was removed from the our language is offended.
Yes.
Look, if you say something I don't like, right? I think now you're an asshole or you're wrong or whatever. That's my opinion. I'm like being offended. What it doesn't do any good. I try. I can't change the world, but I can. The part of people I'm responsible for it. I'm like, look, I go. Being offended. It's like, and then what happens is that turns into terms like microaggression, and then they starting and where it comes into what we're doing. It's people are starting to automatically go to that use of force based on what you said to me,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and that and that's just not how it should work. And I think we've gotten away from that. Like we said before, respect for use of force, respect for violence, and understanding that the guys who've experienced violence really don't like it. I mean, I'm not a I don't I when I think when I talk to people and they're like I don't enjoy there's things that I've done because I've had to do them, whether it was because of my job or because of whatever I was doing at the time, and the situation it called for it most times. Um, but it's not like I've if I think about it, out of that situation or out of that state of mind, it kind of it repulses me, if you will. Right. So, who it's not natural to want to really hurt somebody else.
Right.
Right. I mean, so you've got to get, put up into a state of, that mindset to be, to flip that switch, which is what we're doing with regular people. But it's, still, the notion of violence. I think to most of us or people that are involved in it, it's like it's not like it's something we don't revel in.
Right. Well, with the and even now in my kids' class, what I teach is a line, and I taught my kids this when they were young. It's the line from the Emperor's New Groove when he's like, "No touchy."
Right.
And I've always said people are going to say anything to you.
Yeah.
Right. Don't. Okay. Whatever.
Right.
Right. They're going to say things. Yes, it'll hurt your feelings, but you'll be okay. I promise you. Right. But however, they don't have the right to break the no touchy rule.
Right. Nice.
That's a whole different thing.
Right.
Right. And that's where I started with them.
Right.
And now it's like you said, everyone's hurt. They get butthurt about this or that, or oh my God, this was that was my stick of gum. I can't believe you took it.
Right.
Whatever.
Right. I get grew up. I grew up. I'm Italian. We are a very volatile group of people. So, I grew up arguing over everything. Like everything mattered. And then it was actually a buddy of mine in college. He's like, "Why do you get uptight about that?" I'm like, "I have no fucking idea." And then at that point, I'm like, the energy to do that, it just doesn't happen anymore. So there's like you say, like you're saying whatever to me. Yeah, okay. I'm like, your opinion really doesn't matter to me. Who are you to me? So, as soon as you realize that, yeah, you're in control of your feelings, that it's like, okay, you're pissing me off, which means I'm getting pissed. So, if you're going to stand over there and spout off. I'm like, all right, I see you,
Right.
but
Yeah. That's a safe distance, and there's no gun in your hands. So,
right, so right. I'm like, we're gonna, you're gonna stay there. But if not, then things may change. But and I think that now growing up, especially like having boys, it's like you really they've got to like uh, you got to make sure you got to like get it in triplicate. If you're gonna
Oh
hook up or do anything. I'm like, there's an app, I think. I'm like, dude, record. It's like, hey, hey, I'm with Christine and she's good and we're good.
Right.
Okay, click save it. And if that's where we're going, then I'm like, that's what it is, right? So, I'm glad that we grew up when we did. In regards to the impacts of like social media and what our kids have to go through with everything that's everything they do is measured by how many likes, how many follows, how many streaks,
Yep.
how many I mean they got a picture, they got a post, they're gonna do something like that. I know it's gonna end soon, but still, it's like when we grew up, man, it was like, okay, George did something, George shit himself at the party, right? It's like, all right, maybe.
I heard about all those stories.
Right. So, but again, it was like eventually, I mean, you remember, okay, that's, maybe you get a new nickname, but eventually, but like there's crap like that, like dies down. I'm like, now it's like, and the people who just were there kind of know it and talk about it. And it's like a little mushroom cloud, So, but now it's like, boom, big mushroom cloud. You're like some guy in Kansas, like, yo, that's a shit your pants guy, and
Right.
and you're like, yeah, shit, I'm forever the shit your pants guy. I'm applying for a job. I'm the shit your pants guy.
Right. And oh my God, don't unfriend them either.
Oh.
Have you experienced that catastrophe when someone unfriends?
No, because I do unfriend some people.
Oh no.
I blocked my own. I blocked my own mom once. That's a whole other story. I'll explain in a minute.
My daughter had someone unfriend her.
Oh.
She was a sophomore in high school at the time, but oh my God, I thought it was the end of the world.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Oh, it was.
My daughter, had something with similar to that. Yes. Oh, yeah. Forget it. Yeah.
And I kept getting caught making jokes about it.
Yes.
No. I was sympathetic for about 30, 45 seconds.
Yeah, dude.
Right?
No.
I'm sorry to hear
no.
that, but was it deodorant that you didn't wear deodorant that day? I told you to brush your teeth. You had that nap in your hair. I told you.
Dude, no, you can't. No.
Yeah,
guys, save that for the boy.
Yeah, that was.
Save that for the boy.
You want to talk about a wolf? I think I paid for that the next 2 years.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah. I made the mistake one day of having a conversation so my wife and I are talking, and she tells me about something that happened with my daughter at school, and okay, so she was like around middle school. She was like 6th, 7th grade, and I decide I'm gonna have some like after school special moment with her, and be like, hey, give her some advice and start talking to her about it. And man, her fucking like, Linda Blair, head spin around, fucking, why are you reminding me of something so painful? And then I'm like, and Angela's looking at me like, my wife's looking at me like, moron. And I'm like,
yeah, right.
I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I can't figure you out, and there's no way I'm figuring that out. Holy crap, man.
Well, hey, George, we'll have to use the Rambo line for Damian. Here lies Damian Ross, winner of countless incursions, 15 Congressional Medal of Honors, taken out by his daughter.
Right. Oh my God, man. Yeah, you just, there's nothing preparing you for that.
It's crazy. Oh, I know.
And then I'm like, I'm like an abused spouse. I get the slightest bit of affection. I'm like, oh.
What
Exactly. Exactly. It's like a domestic every day.
You know, what's funny is like when I started talking with George through email, I would send him stuff, and I think one time I referred to him as trainer of the known universe or something like that. Yeah, trainer of the known universe. Answer me this question: where the hell do you find this, George? All right, George. What about this, George? And I'm sure at some point in the middle of the night, George is sleeping, and he woke up. Email from Mark. Oh my god.
Well, George has had to navigate, my mind with this stuff. So, because it's.
I like the word navigate.
Right. I'm like, because, there's a process to putting things together. And it's funny because it's like any new platform that you get into, and like there's an architecture to it, right? So.
Right.
Somebody along the line tried to, had, an organizational pattern. The trick is just figuring out what that was, and then you can get the key to do it. I'm like, I got like ADD on speed, so it's like, it could change from like day to day. I'm like, I'll put shit up. And I'm like, okay, yeah, where's that? Nah, that name doesn't look good, and blah, 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 call it something else. And then he's like, where's this? And I'm thinking like 3 names ago what I did. I'm like, I've been working on like a complete operator's manual for like the last like 2 years. So.
That's where you get it from. Because I asked George things. George, I don't see this, George. It's in the portal.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm in the portal, George. Look, I'm in the instructor's. God damn it! Why are you fucking with me now, Hale? Get your ass on the. I'm just like, don't you have to go to the bathroom, boy? Do something. What do you mean, boy? Go to the portal. Like, George, I don't see it's in the instructor portal. It's right here. Where, George? I don't. And then like Toyman's, I found it. Well, good fucking for you. I'm happy for you.
Oh my god, yeah. So that's like, I'm like, and this is why we're like moving, and this is why we're kind of moving everything over to one system when we're okay. I'm not going to talk about Salesforce because we're moving over to Infusionsoft, but I don't know, maybe I will. So what happened was, I get this.
George just had a coronary.
Yeah, I
already know this.
Yeah, man. So I got, and I don't know what the hell this has got to do with anything, but we're here. So in like January, I got a, I started. I'm like, okay, so back it up. So Mike Archangel is, consultant. He's one of the guys he was actually the guy who had George's job before. So, he's like, I'm like, look, we got to, organize everything and, really kind of, really put on some aggressive numbers for like 2019 for what we want to do and how we want to get there. So he's like, fine. So he sent me a list of 13 questions. I couldn't answer like 12 of them. So I'm like, okay. Because I've got data like on like 2 different shopping carts. I've got the auto response. So I'm like, all right. So the data exists. Let's get into this and figure it out. So I go to my IT team and I'm like, hey, can you guys get these numbers for me? And Matt's like, let me take a look at it. And he's like, well, maybe, so I'm like, well, maybe he's not going to do it. So we looked at some CRM stuff and thinking about like the instructor program and the multi-level development, making sure you guys are getting leads distributed properly other than the ham and cheese way we're doing them right now. So you can track things in your funnel and you'll have everything right on your dashboard. So I'm like, okay, so Salesforce was the next, was the name brand, right? So I'm like, fine. So we'll be able to import the information there and do that. Great. The guy who sold me the program in the end of the year, he's like, I'm going to be your quarterback. He's like, I'm going to take this where he's going to project manage the job. So I'm like, okay, fine. He goes on walkabout, right? So I don't know. I find out like a close friend has got like pancreatic cancer. I get it. So I'm like, hey man, okay, no problem. Is there anybody else I can deal with? I know you got to do with this, but we got to shit to do. So, and keep in mind, like, this is not, this is like an additional, like, $4,000 a month.
Oh, yeah, it's not cheap.
So I'm like, okay, so get the sales manager, and then finally we realized that premium support from Salesforce, now you would think for an extra 30% a month, they would have somebody there that would be like, hey, George, yeah, I got your shit. It's right here. This is how you do it, blah, blah, blah. No, there's a problem. They're like, okay, here's a document. So, all right, so now I'm paying a guy to fucking read a document. And yeah, so we realized we need a team to come in. Now, these businesses exist that implement Salesforce. So I'm like, fine. So now, team comes in, and they quote me like $7,500, and it wasn't even including the instructor program. So I'm like, all right, we still got to import this data, and they still had the marketing cloud, which is basically our email bit. So, make a long story not as long, they didn't know what the hell they were doing with the marketing. There was a small company that was hiring subcontractors, and every meeting, if there's one thing I'm good at, it's realizing when someone's kind of full of shit, and I'm like, all right, you just didn't say anything. I mean, we're literally leaving a meeting, and the guy's like, oh, I think we're in a good place. I'm like, we are not in a good place. I'm like, there's nothing that has been accomplished nothing's been accomplished from the beginning of this meeting to the end. And I go, I don't have any dates you have, anything in our statement of work, all the other shit. So finally, and we'll see, I may, with Infusionsoft, I may fucking feel the same way, but they came in,
Don't say that.
our kickoff meeting is Friday, right? So I may be here 2-3 weeks, but, it's, they told me, at least everything on their platform is all included, and it's one spot, and it's like a fraction of the cost, and a fraction of the cost for the implementation. So I'm like, great. And then we've got, multiple logins instead of just one. I mean, well, everything should be all in one spot for you guys, which is what we want. So, when somebody...
George just wants me to not email him about where things are.
Right. Oh, that's going to happen. Fuck
That's all George wants.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
I know, how many times have I said it's on the video? Well, where's the portal?
Right?
Where's the portal?
My...
Where's the portal? What the fuck?
Well, let's put it this way, because hopefully in the near future, somebody's going to be emailing Mark every 2 seconds about where shit is.
I'll just say, hey, why don't you email George?
Yeah, right. Right.
My effort level has gone down. And my last email to you just said lead.
Right.
Information on.
It's so funny because I'm just like, okay. There was a brief window, and I'm like, I know George wants the help, no doubt. But do I really want to email the poor guy? Seriously, do I really want to? Because I have a sympathy toward that.
Sure.
Just from my experience
of course.
in life.
Right.
So I'm just like, please, do I need to email him now?
Well, that's why there's such a, there's a sweet, I mean, once you've been on the planet long enough, you start to, appreciate what other people go through, right?
Right.
And that's right, But then there comes a point where you're like, fuck them. Because that's what you literally say. Fuck him. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. He's fine.
What I love is are the fist bumps response. I'll get, you know what? Never mind, George. I just found it on the portal. Fist bump. I'm like, I think one day I actually cracked up, and my wife kind of looked over at me because I was at the laptop, and I said, I think I made George's fucking day, man, because he didn't have to worry about me. Right.
So, I mean, because again, let's put it this way. So, as shit rolls downhill, so you hit him, and then he'll be like, hey. Because now that explains a lot of shit. I'm like, motherfucker, it's over there.
Right.
Fuck. I'm like, yeah. Totally.
I don't know how many times you've given me that response, right?
Right, exactly. It's 100%. Right. Except like, fucking in the portal, dude.
Right there. I'm like, what?
Oh, shit. So I will. So on another note, I just got out of a meeting. We're gonna reorganize the training system layout. So it's hopefully we'll see if we can do it. The goal is to have it more look like a library and have it all on one page instead of different dashboards. And then what they have access to is locked and unlocked.
Okay. Yeah.
So, that'll be a little bit easier interface for you guys. And then we'll, again, we want to redo the instructor portal. I'm all for that to get it, to where it needs to be. I mean, I could lay that out totally differently. Right now, it's just kind of like, oh, there's an update here, put it up there. There's an update, put it up there. Oh, there's an update, put it up there, put it up there. So then you get I see what happens. That's why it's like, in the beginning when we're talking on the, guys are throwing out real good ideas on fucking Facebook Messenger. I'm like, that's goodbye. Goodbye, idea. Goodbye. We're never seeing you again.
Yeah, right.
It's I'm like, Doc, those are the fucking forums for. I know it's a forum, but it's like at least we can organize it and put it under different shit and find it.
Here's George. I know this is George at least 3 times a day. Did the fucker even look?
Right.
Come on.
Right. But no. But to your defense, it's like fucking. You're saving me time, right? I know. So. One of you guys, someone over there knows, where it is. So tell me now. I'm awful too with customers. I'm like, I'm the most understanding or the worst fucking person on customer service, depending on the answer I get. But yeah, the other thing that I think, dealing in this virtual world, I can immediately tell from the first sentence or two from an email if you're an asshole or not. Like I get emails, that, when you start off, like we had one email customer service yesterday. A guy purchased 60 minutes self-defense, and he obviously forgot what he purchased again. And this is it's emails like these that have, and messages like these that are making us, update the portal. But, he starts, where's everything? A high schooler could design this better. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. I got you now.
All right, sorry. Okay, thank you. So, I got it. So he logs in, and what happens is guys log in, they forget what they buy, they just start clicking on shit.
Right.
So, and then they get prompted to upgrade. He's like, all you're doing is selling me shit. What the fuck kind of scam? Listen, I get it. People are ripping people off left and right on this goddamn thing. So, but again, it's, the email back is like, sorry, it's typical response. Sorry for your trouble. See, you ordered 60 minutes self-defense and an intro. And, please, log out and log back in and then click on 60 minutes self-defense. Because the other thing that happens that we need to correct is the system will automatically log you out. And then it'll look like you're still logged in, but then when you click on stuff, it'll tell you access denied. So, yeah. So, but I I should say rarely, but I don't remember, so it's never get a response like, hey, I'm all good, thank you. They just go away. Because they say shit and then they're embarrassed that, oh yeah. Okay.
Right, yeah.
Well, that's because the rest of his email was, by the way, I forwarded this to George. Go talk to George.
Right. Yes, that was one. That was one.
And I think that's the lead I forwarded to you, Mark, so we're good. Listen, you may not want me to take care of this because I'll ask for some ID. I want to see your receipt, okay? And listen, it better be in clear, understandable sentences. All right. None of this text speech, which drives me crazy with my daughter, right? Just no. If you don't like it, just tell me, whatever it is, just a perfectly written sentence is fine with me.
I had that.
Or I'll just respond like George with a fist bump.
Right. my son's like, why'd you use a question mark? Because I'm asking a fucking question. That's my answer. Oh my God. the split second it takes me to, click. I go, come on, man. I go, give a shit a little bit. I mean, when you're texting, I'm like, this is my first impression of you. And this is everybody. That contacts you electronically. They just come in like fucking, guns hot, all caps. Fucking standing on the keyboard. I don't know what you're doing. Like, dude, if you met and you talked to me, I'm like, you'd probably be a little, civil. You would
hope anyway.
But you type like the entire sentence in the subject line of your email, and in bold, I'm like, dude, I think you're insane No, I know you're insane right now.
Oh, so learning texting. I kid you not. I have to write this down so I get this right. Okay, IMHO, in my honest opinion.
Right.
That's one of the things I had no idea what it was. I had to ask my daughter, I'm like, did he misspell homo?
Right. Is he coming out? I think he's coming out.
Right? I'm like, what the hell? No, Dad, that's, father. And this is how she teases him. Father, in my honest opinion, perhaps you need a texting education. And I'm like, you know what? I'm an old fucking fart. Shut up and just tell me what the damn thing means.
Don't make me make you call me.
Or in my little kids class, they're doing this dance and they're doing all these, and I'm like, what are you doing? Do you guys need to go to the bathroom? They go, oh no, that's Fortnite.
Fortnite,
I'm like, what the hell is Fortnite?
Fortnite, dude.
So now I've gotten a Fortnite education, and I'm just like, okay, whatever, but yeah, when you just bust out like that,
I think, so yeah, your son's he's probably still messing around with it, maybe. But yeah, my kid was like thick in the middle of that, and he was like, so it's funny because now instead of like, remember we had like the chat lines and crap growing up,
right?
So now all they do is they get on their Xbox with their headsets, and they're just going and they're killing, shooting stuff and doing anything. But like my son was like, had built quite a reputation amongst the community. Because we're like a basketball game, we're like, hey, that's Damian, blah, 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 blah. Use your Fortnite, he's sick. And then now they're since it's basketball season, they went back onto like NBA 2K.
Okay.
And that's actually really cool, man, because it's crazy. They're playing pickup, like you go on, you play pickup games. And like you and your buddies in your characters play pickup games against other guys. And it's It's nuts.
I'm going to tell you a story about basketball. I am scarred by basketball.
Oh, do tell.
I'm going to tell you what. So, and this sums it up quite significantly. In my high school senior year yearbook, a friend of mine he's a Facebook friend to this day, and if I post this statement, I'm going to do it one day, and you guys will crack up at the responses I get. He wrote literally, you have got to be the worst black basketball player I've ever seen. And then he under that he wrote, just joking, Sensei. Well, maybe not.
Man.
So, yeah, I'm permanently scarred. But dude, listen. If I like the late Patrice O'Neal, who's a favorite comic of mine,
awesome.
has a joke.
Awesome.
And I apply this joke to
Jersey
me playing basketball. If they held a gun to my mother's head and told me I had 3 chances to make a free throw, I would have to kiss her goodbye.
Right.
All right.
Right.
No.
Well, I said there's one reason why I wrestled, and that's because I sucked at basketball. Like
That's right.
Dude, I was in like 2nd grade. I went out for biddy basketball, and I had one kid on my team, Sid Smith. We wound up playing at Yale.
Wow.
He looked like Dr. J as a kid.
Okay.
Like this was 80s. He had the fro, the bandana. He was fucking awesome. And he would look like he was just. And I'm on his team, and I know he's looking at me. He's like, dude.
You
It's
ain't
like,
getting the ball.
yeah, exactly. You're setting a pick, you know. And then I realized after again, I'm like, yeah, this just doesn't feel right. And even to this day, I'm like, I look at my son, I'm like, if I practiced, I'm like, I don't think this is one thing I would get better at.
Yeah. No.
It's just, there's just, I can't. And so I like marvel at the shit he does and his buddies. And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm like, that's like, you're on another planet right now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
but I get it's like certain, right? I'm like, there's this shit that I'm like, look, if I get my hands on you, okay, there's certain shit, we all have different skill sets, right?
Right.
There's
Right.
different shit what makes it work and how we fit. But yeah, man, it just wasn't good. And then, that was it. I mean, then that was, you get the other sports. That's what I said. We've got like, in this country, there's, football, basketball, baseball, and then beyond that, it's like, this next tier sports, soccer, lacrosse, and shit, hockey. And then, I mean, hockey for us around here, just, it's too much time suck. It doesn't get cold enough anymore.
Oh,
So
that's big here. Hockey, rugby is getting big.
Rugby's getting big, but again, that'd be a fourth tier sport. Wrestling, is a second tier sport in America. And then it's like all the rest of the stuff, MMA, BJJ, judo, I mean, the places where, where it's like you're getting down. I'm like, I mean, with judo, it was always, America's not good at it. I mean,
no.
Because again, it's like our talent pool is, is limited to what we got. So,
Right.
I mean, by the time, guys are getting serious and competing in judo, they've already failed at so many other sports.
Yeah, that's true. Really,
It is what it is, man. It's like, I never had pictures of judoka on my wall, right? I had fucking Rod Carew and fucking Earl Campbell, so I'm
Right,
like,
yep.
I'm like,
shit. Yeah. And it's just like, yep. So scarred by basketball and martial arts. Here we go. Yep.
Right. So I'm like, yeah, and what's upsetting, and this is as a grown up, because eventually one of these days I'm gonna have the patience and the time to actually like look at golf. I don't know, right?
Oh my God, no, dude.
I don't know, whatever.
Oh.
So, but it's like my son, because he can play basketball, has like an athletic social skill. Like he can go, like if we were like our age, we'd be able to go and play a pickup basketball game. I look like a monkey humping a football. We do a police firefighter charity basketball game like once a year.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just like kind of give and go kind of guy. And I have my son and his buddy show up to play. It was like, and they're just like crushing it. So I'm like, yeah, they're junior firefighters. They're good.
Well, I do the softball game.
Yeah.
Which I'm still trying to, because that's hardcore, man. With cops in the
Oh,
fire department.
yeah, dude.
Hardcore.
No doubt.
And I went to one golf outing, and I thought, you know what? With the gene pool, I might have a smidgen of Tiger Woods in me.
Something, right?
No, dude, I can whack the shit out of that ball, but beyond that, I'm done.
Yeah, I can't. I've like gone out like a handful of times. I'm like, it's just not something that is in me that is like somewhere deep down inside is like, oh yes, this is what I'm meant to do. It's like, it's such a freaking. It's painful.
I got so much shit after that golf outing. Because afterwards we're all, Hale, Tiger Woods and you know what you got in common? You could drive his golf cart.
I don't think I do that.
So, and it got to the point where I just stopped. I walked over, I unplugged the jukebox.
Right.
And I went, okay, fuckers, can any of you draw a katana properly? I think not.
Right. I'm out of my comfort zone right now.
Right. At least I'm here,
Right. Yeah, I see all you fuckers in class on Monday.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Shit.
I used to get shit for shooting until I started going in moonlighting at the range.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And then I'm like, oh, you didn't go to qualify yet, did you? Huh? Yeah. Look at that. Look at that griffin right there, buddy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah.
Dude. So, speaking of qualifying, right? So literally, this is Tuesday. So I got, I like to mix things up when I PT. So I got like a fat tire mountain bike, and I ride. There's like a 20-mile ride, and the good thing about it, it's like it's slow as shit. So I'm like working extra hard. It's my solo bike. I'm not a biker. I wear like shorts, a regular fucking sweatshirt. I don't wear a helmet. It's whatever. So anyway, it's me with my earbuds, listening to whatever. So I'm on this bike path, and I hear a volley of gunfire. So I'm like, I get behind a tree. I'm looking around, and there's like people. This is like middle afternoon, beautiful day. People are like walking. Nobody's even like looking in the direction. So I reach out, call the non-emergency number I'm in Paramus now, so I call the Paramus PD. I'm like, hey, don't want to alarm anybody, but I just heard a shit ton of gunfire go off. I go, here's my location, anything going on? And then one other person walked by and had mentioned something, and they're like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm calling it in, whatever. So again, nobody even paid in my, and when I'm telling you, and when I tell you, it was a volley. So finally, the police department calls me back. And they're like, hey, Mr. Ross, we just found out Fairlawn, one of the other towns, is on their range qualifying right now. So that's what you heard. But now, again, I asked them, I'm like, did anybody else call in? No. I guess so people wait for shit to explode and people drop to start like.
Yeah, right. Unless the blood splatter flies, man.
I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, the place was packed, and everybody. It's not like you got to run to a payphone. I mean, everybody's got,
right.
But yeah, I guess people. I'm like, so I guess you get to the point where like, shit goes down, you're kind of on your own.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, we explain this to people, and they think like somebody. No. I mean, everybody is so into their own shit that especially now with mass shootings, and you would think that if somebody heard more than one shot, they would just they'd start they'd call the cops. Call the cops. That's what they're there for. They want the call.
In the city, depending upon where you are,
you'll
hear the shots, and people, instead of dropping, this is how just snappy on the ball they are. No, that's too far away to worry about.
Right.
And I'm just like, I get that, but you didn't bat an eye, but too far away to worry about. I'm like, okay, and they say no, if it was closer. But I could tell. I'm like, so you hear gunshots in this area that often that
right,
how far away it needs to be before you need to duck and cover. Oh
right.
Yeah. And I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
There's a reason I don't come around here that often.
Right. And by the way, here's a bulletproof backpack.
Yeah, right.
Just here you go. So yeah, I mean, again, obviously Chicago's in the news a lot. I mean, as far as we're concerned, Chicago's like Camden. I mean, what's going on over there? Obviously, there's.
Happily, I'm on the north side of the city,
right?
So it's the better part. But when I lived on the west side years ago, as a kid, yeah, you knew, man.
Yeah.
Now it's at, and it goes back to the aggression stuff.
Right.
It's no longer, hey, let's get in a fight, Damian, and,
Yeah.
next week we're best friends for the next 50 years. It's,
Right.
you did this offense to me. Now I'm going to take you out and talk to the gangbangers and get a weapon.
Right.
And the more they get silly about these gun laws here, it doesn't prove anything. We have the strictest gun laws in the country, and we have one of the highest murder rates.
Yeah, it's like,
so
look, I think we're, when it comes to, again, there's like, obviously, I'm no, obviously I support the Second Amendment. I'm a firearm owner. I'm all that. And it's, it's tricky. Because at one time, sometimes, we need, I think we need more responsible people to have more ability to carry.
Yes.
So, I'm talking besides the, whatever background search and things like that, it's, qualifying annually. If I could qualify annually and then I've got no alcohol or any other substance in my, whatever, when I'm carrying, fine. I'm like, this is what we should be.
There's FBI statistics that support that. A lot of that. If you look at even some of the open carry states.
Yeah.
You've got nothing there.
Right.
It's all and again, this isn't just me. This is data that backs this up from the FBI. All these cities and states with the strictest gun laws have the worst possible violence you can have.
Right. And you look at, you can ban everything. I mean, last I checked, heroin is illegal.
Yeah.
Yet I can get it. I could get it now if I wanted.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's so you want to tell me, and it's a lot more difficult to, to import, to get heroin from point A to point B than it is for, I don't know, some guy with a lathe and a drill press to start making his own. You manufacture your own firearms.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, you can, it would be done in a second, and it's not like, also not under the. I mean, while we're having this conversation, I believe in the reason for it because one, I've got a distrust of the government. I do. I mean, I really, and that's what it's there for. I'm like, when you've got, it's, we want to, okay, we're good, but we want to just make sure you're good. And, this is what we do. And I don't want, to be able to, if they have it, I want to be able to have it. Right. So, and it's not about like, well, they got tanks and stuff like, yeah, but we've got numbers. And, just the fact that it's there, it would give people the consideration of the consideration of pause. And the other thing that I have, which, when they talked about the Second Amendment during the time talked about arming themselves, it wasn't just firearms; it was all weapons.
Oh, right.
I mean, it was all weapons. It was body armor. It was everything. So, the fact that you can't carry a certain type of knife or a blackjack, for example, or something. It's technically unconstitutional, and you're looking at but those things go completely regular. For what reason? It's like I can't carry a blackjack, but I can carry a socks, some duct tape, and some loose change. I mean, that's okay, right? So it's and again, the knife laws in New Jersey, I'm like, one of my good friends is now a federal judge, but like any of these stuff that I put together for self-defense in the law, he's consultant on. Steve was is an attorney perpetually in the Coast Guard Reserves, and he again, another former Marine. And he defended a lot of guys with concealed carry, defended a lot of off-duty cops and off-duty Coast Guard police who got, jammed up traveling with their firearm. A kid got pulled over in New York State, and he had his firearm, and he almost fucking went to jail. but my buddy took the case pro bono and defended him and won. So, so it's, when it comes to like edged weapons in New Jersey, like technically you can defend yourself with a weapon, but the way the law is written, it's got to kind of magically appear in your hand at the time of the attack. Like you can't have like, even if you lose like your box cutter that you had, it's like this whole thing. And it's like, it's not how you carry the weapon, the length of the weapon, it's how you manifest it. And then the laws vary state to state, which it's ridiculous. I mean, look, if I'm going to do bad things, I'm not going to give a crap about the little things. Right?
Absolutely.
So, that's what, people, they think, and this is when it comes to self-defense, it's like, they always, hold on one second. Hold on. Not recording, okay. Yeah, so we're back. And, so, any type of weapon should be, should be covered. And the fact that, they're restricting, they're, at the end of the day, it's the same thing with anti-bullying. It's the same thing with gun control. The people that, it's got a fire call. So the people that obey the laws are the people who aren't going to break the law.
Right.
So, just enforce the shit we got and call it a day. It's just, it's frustrating. But, again, soon I've got 5 years before I'm moving out of the Republic of New Jersey. I will move to warmer climates with concealed carry.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm like, it's like, I'm good. I'm done. I've seen this part enough. I'm ready. Next adventure. The hardest thing I think is going to be, relationship with my wife.
Yeah, who you haven't had time to see enough, right? And it's like, hey, I remember you.
Right. And now, instead of being able to go, off to, hold on, I gotta shut this off. Oh, these guys are lunatics. So I've got a dinner tonight
with George. I don't know.
Right, dude. I'm sorry, turn it on. Right. I got a dinner tonight with a bunch of guys, and they're all texting like 14-year-old girls. So, I'm done. I'm ready. But again, the strain will be with that relationship because now it's like I've got dinner with a shitload of guys.
Right.
We go down there. I'm like, it's like I got dinner with you.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, again.
It's like when you're sitting there and you're waiting for your favorite movie or whatever to come out, or you're waiting to do something, and your wife walks in, hey, let's go to dinner. Let's go see a movie. You're like, huh?
Right, yeah, right. No, I'm watching Jaws again with the commercials now.
Right. Don't you own that movie? Yes,
I do. But it's so much better when it's on TV. Holy shit.
Who's this George guy, and why the fuck are you sending emails about knives?
Great shit. All right, man. Let's call it here
because
we're getting at that point. Mark, it was a pleasure to hang out with you. We will do this again.
It was nice talking with you guys. Absolutely.
George, as always, riveting.
You fucking bastard! You sat there for the whole thing and didn't do anything.
I got like 5 or 6 words. Fuck.
You can't get a fucking word.
I want the job to hold up little cue cards for Damian. Ask the fucker about this. What the hell does he mean?
It's funny because I have notes, but it's like they go where they go. And I'm more, and it's like we want to. Yeah, I want to know about you and, and that and have a good time and, hopefully spread a little love. All right, fellas, again.
All right,
peace.
Guys.
Okay.
Have a good night.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Self-Defense Company, world leader in close combat.